128 and the Mass Pike. Hundreds of drivers saw them every day sitting up there. They were sitting on the lamps at Route 3 and 128, at Route 93 and 128, and soon all the good habitat on the interstates were taken up, and they moved in to the country clubs and cemeteries off the interstates. And so they came into Woburn, and you saw 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs occupying the high vapor lights at Stoneham on Montvale Ave. 4 different pairs used the lights and then nested off in their own little corner. But you'd see them there. They continued to move in to Winchester Country Club, to Mount Auburn. And Mount Auburn, there weren't many raptors there at the time. So just tons of squirrels. Beefsteak on the hoof for a red tail. And they were there all year. So what happens? People come in April and May, and there are a lot of people walking around looking at you. But after that, squirrels and chipmunks to hunt all year round. And if you want some fowl, you can just head outside the cemetery and get some of the pigeons. And so John first got attracted by a pair of red tails that you could see visibly. In most areas, the red tails are pretty secretive and don't want you to see what their life is like. So they keep low, they keep hidden in the cemetery. As Bill Martin talks about his first essay, he walks in and they're perched on the monuments. And he's never seen them like this before, and it is rare. So they started occupying the cemetery, and then another pair came in, and it got so bad. The cemeteries were taken, Oak Grove, taken over by red tails. Every cemetery had its red tails. But the easiest ones to see were in Mount Auburn because they really were accustomed to all the traffic, all the people. And you could watch them nest, you could watch the young fledge. Someone here, if you've read her essays, talked about great horned owls nesting, which was the only time they ever nested in Mount Auburn. Screech owl was the one standard raptor that was there in the 70s and 80s, and is still a standard there. So 3 different predators. I would go and look for warblers, but then looking up, I see what at that time was the rare peregrine falcon. And my first peregrine in the state was at Mount Auburn, looking to the tops of the trees for warblers and seeing this thing go over. And then I saw kettles of broadwings. And at that time, if you saw a peregrine falcon once in a year, you were lucky. Now, they're breeding right down the street from Mount Auburn. As are red tails, not only breeding in Mount Auburn, they're breeding in Harvard Square, they're breeding in Alewife. So the predators have spread out. And then you have the mammalian predators there as well. So the cemetery has an unusual environment that allows you to see more than the flowers, which are spectacular, more than the birds. Any time of year you can go in and you may see the owl, the red tail, the screech owl, the coyote, the fisher. Fishers have been in there, so it really is a little bit of the wild. It may be more wild. One of the stories that's not in this expurgated version is I was on a bird walk back in the 70s, and we had about 25 people on an early May morning. And birding wasn't as popular then as it is now. But we were all looking for thrushes on the Tower Hill or by the Dell. And everybody's looking, because thrushes are fairly secretive and they're down low. And we came around the corner, and there was a young woman sunbathing topless at 7 o'clock on a weekday morning. And at that point in time, the traffic was so low that this young woman who didn't know any better went and decided to sunbathe on the hill facing the southeast. And there were 25 birders. Well, she learned that the cemetery wasn't as quiet as she thought it was. And if you go there, you'll find the same thing. It's an exciting place, and what John and Kim have done makes it even richer and more exciting, because you understand not only the trees and some of the birds, but the stories of the people who built this into one of the unique things in the world. And it's only a few miles away. Thank you.